I've put over 600 hours on KTM dirt bikes. 400 of those hours on a big 300cc two-stroke, the rest mixed between an even bigger 450cc four-stroke and an even bigger 950 adventure bike. This is what I've learned. It's not all rainbows and orange pixie dust, so let's talk about this. KTM, the good, the bad, the what the... The amount of parts available is amazing, but why are they so expensive? I will never understand how a KTM engineer could say a 300cc two-stroke doesn't need a radiator fan. Selling essential parts as power sports parts is a tough way to make an extra money on a dirt bike that is already well over $12,000. KTM clutches are made out of the strongest material known to man, but KTM radiators are made out of butter. The cooling system on the enduro bikes is annoying at best and an outright engine killer at worst. The KTM 950 is the greatest adventure bike ever made. If you don't agree, all that tells me is that you've never ridden one. The biggest negative to a 950 adventure bike is that parts are getting harder to find and more expensive to buy. But WTF, why are the 950 adventure rims so weak? If you hit them on any rock, they bend. Basically, you have to replace them with something else. While I'm not in love with the BDS shock, I do enjoy not having to maintain a linkage rear suspension. Steel frames are strong, but rocks are stronger. How do you sell an enduro bike without a skid plate? What the? The Explorer suspension is a big step up from the 4CS, but the clickers honestly don't do anything. And if PDS is so great, why doesn't KTM use them on their race bikes, like their SX and their cross-country models? I mean, seriously, WTF. If you're enjoying the video, hit that like button. It helps me. I need it. I'm trying to grow. I don't actually have anything good to say about the cooling system. I'm supposed to have a good thing to say here, but I don't. So we're just going to skip the good one on this one. The radiators come with zero protection and are weak as WTF. Again, on the cooling system, I don't understand why they vent to atmosphere. Sherco sells their bikes with an overflow tank. Why do KTM dirt bikes not have a simple overflow tank? Instead, when you inevitably overheat because they don't sell the bike with a fan, you and your buddies are going to take turns pissing in your radiators to fill it back up. All three of my KTMs were absolute monsters in the field that they were created for. I really like that the brand embraces new ideas, but I don't think we need all of them all at once. Lock-on grips are cool, but they don't justify such a huge price jump. WTF. Being a global brand means compromise. The 300 TPI had to be tuned for every government across the entire globe, and the stock tune is terrible. Unpredictable is the best way to describe it. If you're not accelerating, the bike would basically fall on its face. This literally trained me to chop the throttle, and now I'm spending months retraining myself to be smooth on the throttle. They need to fix these issues before they sell the bikes and not have the customers come back and pay even more money for a reflash of the ECU. I love that all three of these bikes use similar tools and hardware. I can pull a bolt off of my 2004 950 adventure bike and use it on my 2019 300 two-stroke. Same pitch, same head, same Torx inlet. That is awesome for someone that fixes their own. I don't need a lot of special tools, but their non-racing bikes are a massive departure. They feel cheap and flimsy when you ride them. I'm referring to the free ride bike compared to the EXC. It leads to brand illusion and a general confusion for potential customers. Seriously, what the F? I want to slap the engineer in charge of placing the coolant line millimeters away from a sharp metal gasket that sticks out. He owes me a piston and a cylinder. Brembo brakes are really good. The DDS clutch is incredible, but I do wish you could change the clutch pull weight. Water cooling is amazing, but if you don't protect the hoses, then you easily end up losing all of your water. KTM does not monitor head temperature, only water temperature. If you lose all of the water in your bike, there is no safety to stop the engine from melting itself. Only monitoring water temperature is really, really stupid. I fixed this with a $5 part from Amazon, and now I can see my head temperature, and if it starts going up really high, that means I have a water leak and I shut the bike off. Cylinder, piston, saved. The KTM 450 is really just a machine designed to do wheelies at literally any time. The factory display on these bikes, all of the enduro models, is in a surprisingly vulnerable location. I've replaced it 3 times now, and I just stopped trying. WTF, the 450 traction control was such a terrible idea. When I need to get the front wheel over a log on a sandy or loose track, I need the rear tire to spin. Or I'm gonna hit the log and go over the bars. I used it one time and never again. If you can't get the front tire up because the rear tire won't spin, the hell are you doing on an enduro bike? KTM, why did you implement this? How is my 400-hour two-stroke bottom end and transmission still working flawlessly? That's incredible. The wiring harness location means that you'll get to learn how to solder, so be excited for this new skill. And WTF, the service manual torque specs should not be followed after the inevitable engine overheat. You will end up stripping head bolts and you're gonna have a bad time. I love how adjustable the ergonomics are. The magnesium cases are really cool and lightweight, but they are very easily stripped out, so that sucks. The aluminum subframe was good. If you break it, you can have it welded. Why the F are the new bikes using plastic subframes? This seems like a simple example of KTM trying new tech without having any reason. Basically, if you bend or crack your subframe now on the new bikes, you just have to buy a new one. There's no repairing it. That sucks. WTF. I love how tunable the power band on my 300 is, but it's all aftermarket. The stock maps are all the same. They don't do anything. And WTF, the kickstand on my KTM has got to be the weakest kickstand ever made. Not only is the pivot too small and likely to crack, the bolt that holds the spring in is far too shallow and is 100% going to fly off mid-ride. These are very easy things to fix, and the owner should not be the one that has to outthink a professional engineer. WTF, KTM. A note on that is that perhaps the new bikes have fixed this. I don't know. I don't own a newer KTM, so maybe they fixed it. I love the quick disconnects for the fuel system, even if they can seem connected when they are not and cause problems. I still prefer a quick disconnect. The WP fork bottoms that you attach your fork protectors to are going to strip out and you're gonna have to use helicoils. That just sucks. And WTF, the locking steering head that's supposed to stop people from stealing your bike does not stop people from stealing your 450. All they have to do is kick the tire and it breaks. It's just not strong enough. Why even include it? It makes you feel like it's good enough, but it's not. WTF, KTM. Either make it good enough or don't include it at all. I honestly think that KTM is the main reason two-strokes have a future in racing. The TPI and the TBI bikes are the only technological advancements in the two-stroke world in the last 15 years. Sherco has an electronic power valve, but that's not that big of a jump compared to the TPI and TBI. Yamaha, for example, hasn't made any significant changes to the YZ, and even brands like Sherco and Beta are still using carburetors. Honestly, the 2004 950 engine is more advanced than my 2019 450 was. While they are drastically different, this 04 950 was fit with a dry sump oil system, coil on plug ignition, and, well, carburetors. An enduro bike needs to be simple, I get that, but coil on plug is really easy to implement. A dry sump would be really amazing, but complicated, so I do understand why they don't use it, although it would be really good for when you're basically going up something vertical and you need that oil still to be picked up. Dry sump's awesome. I don't know how they were able to do it in 2004, but kind of just threw it to the wayside later on. But the 950 does run so hot that it actually boils the fuel in the tank. So, I mean, open the gas cap with caution. WTF, I don't know why you didn't put more fans in those bikes. I like that the enduro bikes are street legal and it doesn't add a ton of extras. Honda does a bad job of this. They add too many extras to make their bikes street legal. And honestly, I think KTM should get a gold star for basically making race bikes that are also street legal. I'm talking about the EXC and EXCF. Look, if you're in the US, you guys have different names for them. You probably know what I'm talking about. Just change the letters around and make it work for you. Sorry. All of my frame of reference for the brand models come from outside of the US. So for me, it's the EXC and the EXCF bikes that are street legal. Okay, the bad. I find it confusing that the service intervals on the enduro bikes are for racing. Yet the suspension is basically set up for a Sunday ride. Either set the bike up for a really soft, super chill ride that you don't have to do a ton of maintenance on, or set the bike up for racing, but don't have it do both. It's confusing and it kind of makes the bikes really unstable at speed. I've raced on stock suspension for a really long time and recently made the change to non-stock suspension, and holy crap, I had no idea that dirt bikes were supposed to feel stable at speed. But WTF, KTM owners have weird brand loyalties. A good example of this is engine oil brands and air filter oil brands. They'll get really upset with you for using a brand that's not in the manual. This isn't necessarily the brand's fault, but I think it's due to the high cost of buying a new bike. So the people that are buying them are less likely to be mechanics and more likely to bring their stuff to a dealership for oil changes. I'm just saying. Okay, now these last ones don't really fall into good, bad, or WTF, just kind of like an added bonus. Orange is annoying. I just don't want all my shit to be orange. The ergonomics of a KTM are without a doubt designed for a little bit taller of a person, especially compared to Japanese bikes and Shirkos. The general public either loves or hates KTM. I think that has something to do with how expensive they are, but it kind of sucks riding one because you either get someone being like, hey, cool bike, or basically telling you to go F off. The factory steering bump stops are just really hilarious, and I remove them the second I get home. The stock handguards are actually a joke. They're like really genuinely a joke. They do absolutely nothing. The rear brake pedal being routed on the inside of the frame is a really good thing. I don't know why more brands don't do this. The 950 battery should be moved under the seat as soon as possible. In 2004, batteries were heavy, so they put it really low in the bike. It's actually at the lowest point in the motorcycle. Problem is, when you go through water, your battery is literally underwater. So I don't think I need to explain to you why that's a bad thing. So there's a bunch of electronics that are really low on that bike, and the faster you move them up and higher, the better, just for obvious reasons. People that say KTM isn't a reliable brand are the same people that will tell you Husqvarna is. It just means that they don't know what they're talking about. KTM seems to take risks when it comes to engineering. This is great, and I like to see things being tried and tested. This makes for some incredible machines. On the flip side of that coin is that they ignore basic needs such as proper cooling, and these issues cause problems. I would have been seriously heartbroken had I bought a brand new bike and had the piston seize due to an overheat on my first hard enduro race. All because KTM said a 300cc two-stroke doesn't need a fan, but hey, you can buy one from us if you want. You don't need it, but you can buy it if you want. It does in fact need a fan. That's absurd. These little things put the customer off. While the bikes are cutting edge and great in some important aspects, they are also outdated in others. It seems to me that KTM wants to make the best race bike they can, sell it for a premium, and dump the boring engineering off on the aftermarket. Radiator fans, overflow tanks, coolant lines that don't end up split open by the engine. We actually have to cut PVC pipe in half and put it on our coolant lines like little shields. That is crazy. I am not loyal to KTM, I promise. I just don't like the ergos of Shirko, and betas in my area are rare where I live. Sadly, the Japanese offerings are just not what I want. I'm also deeply in love with the 300cc two-stroke platform. So my options are KTM and KTM related brands, or Shirko and Beta, which I already talked about why I don't like that. Perhaps I should look in the Ryehu, but tuning a carb seems like a pain in the ass. What do you think? Does KTM push too far and force the prices on these bikes too high? Or are you a fan of the cutting edge and don't mind personally adding a few extras to make them bulletproof? Personally, I would love to try a KTM XC300 with a linkage rear end, or even a Beta RR. Then again, Triumph's new 4-stroke 250 looks really good too. No matter what my next bike is, I'm 100% confident that my next ride on my KTM will be amazing. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like. Obviously, it really helps grow my channel. You've heard it a million times on YouTube. But the best way you can help a smaller channel like this is to share and leave a comment. I'm always in the comments. I'm here for the conversation after. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.